Steve Coogan is a wonderful comedian.
What are you fucking looking at?
For a second, thanks. Go.
Dan! Dan!
You're not gay, are you?
No, I'm married.
Yeah. Well, so was James I.
That's Collin Flatt for Philebrity, and today we're interviewing Steve Coogan.
Stop art! You have Satan French kissing the President of the United States of America.
Cricket Feldstein, we have a First Amendment case on our hands. No one.
What do you usually look for in a role, and what specifically attracted you to this film?
I like to play characters who are kind of slightly off-center. There's something kind of dysfunctional about them, something maybe slightly damaged or irregular, and stuff that just kind of avoids well-worn paths. Anything that's kind of just different and original. And I figured that this did it for me because you know I've read a lot of scripts, a lot of comedy scripts, and I write a lot of comedy in the UK, a lot of comedy that I write and act in, and so I was pretty sort of jaded about a lot of comedy scripts, but this one just seemed to me authentic, and it had a voice, a proper voice. It didn't sound like it had been written in a hacky way. It was written to a remit, you know, it just felt like it was that the people who'd written it really liked what they'd written, and they'd written it for themselves, and that appealed to me. And so I guess I look for originality and some sort of a challenge. Although it's a kind of a cliche, you hear actors say it all the time. It's true to me that I wanted to do something. I was trying to do something slightly different than what you've done before. And although I like to play characters who are somehow, like I say, dysfunctional, and they tend to be pretty negative characters. The characters they tend to be pretty dark, and I don't often get the opportunity to play someone who you kind of has an innocence about them, and is basically a good guy trying to do the right thing. I don't often play those kind of parts, and this guy was this kind of vulnerable guy who's basically nice, but just a bit of a putz, as they say. And so that was slightly different for me. So it kind of like, it was the things I like to see, and it was some of the things that I don't normally do, so it was kind of a little bit of a challenge. And the writing was smart. The writing was smart and funny. It made me laugh out loud, and so I kind of, it was a no-brainer for me that I wanted to do it. And whether I could pull it off or not was a question mark. But again, the other thing I like to look for is something that scares me a little bit. And I don't know whether I'll be able to, nail it. And so it did that as well.
Actually, that leads right into my question, which is so many of your comedic roles are people that are a little off-center, maybe in severe distress or troubled, and then your non-comedic roles are much more severe, like serious, very, very serious straight man kind of stuff. And I'm wondering, why do you gravitate towards the kind of off-center thing? Is there a connection there that you think this is maybe a place you can really explore the whole space of the character, or is it just that you think that's a much better way to just, the comedic stuff is much funnier when the character is a wreck?
It's a combination of things. I find it more interesting. I think I find humanity more interesting. I think the kind of there's when I'm creating stuff, whether I'm writing stuff or I'm just being cast and stuff, I tend to like people who are. I think you just learn more about humanity and looking at the damaged people. It's like the Jesus hung out with the prostitutes and the sinners. It's that kind of vibe, So I just find it more interesting, and it's more of a challenge to have people see the humanity in people who are perhaps not the kind of people you choose to share a long car ride with. I suppose that's what kind of attracts me to him. And the more kind of serious stuff is I don't know. I have no idea. The serious. I suppose I just I don't tell what I don't like. It's more probably easy to see what I don't like. What I don't like is seeing actors playing a part where they really, really want to be perceived as A, really cool, or B, just really, really liked, or they're desperate for the audience to like them playing that character. That I find somehow, when you see them doing that, I mean, it's good to have a character that's likable in some way. It's how you go about it, but I don't like seeing that. I don't feel comfortable playing the smartest guy in the room, you know, or the guy you're supposed to totally like and trust, and you know, like I don't know how to do that, you know. Harrison Ford does that brilliantly, you know, but I can't do that. I could never do that. I don't think it's just. I don't know how people do that. It's like it's too scary. I'd rather just be, you know, play to my strengths, which is play someone who's screwed up.
Well, following the trend, it kind of segues into my question. Over this past week, I had the chance to go back and watch 2 films you were in, Coffee and Cigarettes and Tristram Shandy. And it's interesting because both of them you play Steve Coogan, or versions of Steve Coogan. Mm-hmm. So here you are talking about you like to play damaged characters because they're interesting and you want to spend long car rides with them.
Oh no, you tricked me. You tricked me. Oh no, what am I going to do? Yeah, well, you know, I mean, like I say, I do a mea culpa there. You know, I'm not a perfect person, and I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm not even Gandhi. You know,
you were Jesus in the musical.
I'm not even a combination of those two people. I'm you know, I'm not Martin Luther King. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this joke. Anyway, but what I do know is that when I create a character, a lot of the things I put into the characters I do is I don't make a secret of it. There's some me in there, you know, and I don't mind using aspects of myself or other people. Sometimes it's a combination of me and other people that I put into things. You pick up things, you know, and you hear things and observe things, and you know, I'm kind of got to that stage where I think no experience is a wholly bad experience in your life, because whatever's happening to you, if it's, as long as it's interesting, then it's going to be fuel for whatever you do creatively. You know, sometimes embarrassing, slightly awkward situations are my favourite situations. In retrospect, because sometimes I'll be quite existential about them, because I'll be in an awkward situation and I'll be thinking, this is really interesting. I feel really embarrassed right now. I must remember this. But to answer your question about me playing myself in those 2 movies, that really was just. It was important that it was not just me being self-indulgent, and also that those movies work irrespective of whether you know who I am. It was just a device. Both those movies. You know, Jim Jarmusch did this movie where he wanted me to play a version of myself, and because of the narrative, it made sense. Okay, so you don't need to know who I am. All you need to know is that I'm an actor called Steve Coogan, and I'm slightly pretentious, and I've got a huge ego. And Alfred Molina is playing Alfred Molina, and he's an actor that we've seen in movies, and he's paranoid and slightly obsessed with me in a weird way, and to tread that line between reality and comedy is fun. You know, playing with reality, especially as audiences kind of know these days. You know that they're watching something which is on camera. Audiences have become more and more sophisticated, and that suspension of disbelief is sometimes difficult to maintain. So you kind of sometimes have to acknowledge it. As you say, yeah, we know this is a movie. We know we're not real. Now let's talk about that. Let's have some fun with that. Let's experiment with it. In the Michael Winterbottom film I did, it was a similar thing, you know, and I was involved more in the kind of, well, in both of those things I was involved in the dialogue, and you kind of take facets of yourself and then what you think might be funny, and you kind of just whack the volume up on them. So am I neurotic and do I have an ego? Yeah, I don't think it's, yes I do. I don't think it's quite as ugly and grotesque as I performed it in those 2 things where I played myself. But there's some truth there, but what you do is you turn the volume up on it to make it funnier and more interesting, and you know, I just use things that I find myself that might be useful, you know, on screen.